Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. The first step to understanding perspective and sunsets like this on the flat Earth is to understand that horizons are not created by any geographical curvature. Defenders of the globe insist that on the flat Earth the sun should shrink to a dot above the horizon and never appear to go below or get cut off by the horizon. This video will prove that horizons are simply an optical effect in our eyes because the surface always rises to eye level, and the lower we go, the shorter the distance across the surface to the horizon becomes, cutting off the sun before it is far enough away to shrink significantly. The same applies to ships in the distance, which appear to be cut off at the bottom by curvature, or shots like this of the Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan, where the distant buildings have been cut off by the rising surface. This is simply an optical illusion created in our eyes. Typically, these shots are taken with a zoom lens, giving us quite a lot of detail across the surface, but we cannot see very far across the surface because of our low perspective. And bearing in mind that our vision or field of view is split into two, we have the lower half, which is always the surface rising up to the midway level, and the sky. Of course, we cannot see very far across the surface, but we can see very far across the sky, which is much more open and transparent. If the surface was transparent, we would see a lot further through that lower half of our field of view. In this sunset shot, we see exactly the same as we saw with the Chicago skyline. The sun has traveled away from us at a consistent height above the flat Earth, but appears to drop to the horizon, and it is cut off before it gets too far away by the relatively short distance we see across the surface, which is rising to eye level. Again, we can see a lot of detail in the surface, and we cannot see that far across it. It's very difficult to discern exactly how far we can see, but we can see that the closer to the horizon we get across the surface, the more and more condensed the surface becomes in our vision. And we have the sun being cut off before it has a chance to get so far away that we cannot see it anymore. If we got higher above the flat plane, it is perfectly normal to see the sun carry on for a greater distance, and we would therefore see it shrink even more. In this footage, with the camera resting on the ground, we have the lower halves of the runners' bodies apparently cut off by a big dip or curve, but this is not the case. This is the diffraction of light as it is bounced off of slight deviations in the road. Of course, we never have a completely smooth surface in nature, especially when we are looking across the sea, and this is why we get such a phenomenon across water, creating a horizon that appears to make ships or buildings disappear behind curvature. And here on another flat but rugged road we have the same phenomenon. The motorcyclist close to us is sitting on the horizon, but the vehicles further away have been cut off significantly by the diffraction of light as our eyes attempt to bring whatever they can on the surface up to the midway level in our field of view. These shots of aircraft coming into land at Düsseldorf Airport on what should be or must be a very flat and level runway show the same optical phenomenon of diffraction, where we have possibly a slight deviation on the tarmac, creating what appears to be a massive dip that swallows up the lower parts of these aircraft. We can also see how the light is being bent in from the sides Again, this is not anything physical, it is simply an optical illusion. And the final piece of footage here will show us how the sun needn't shrink to a dot before it gets cut off by the horizon, as we watch this very large aircraft come into land, and we have a low view, and it will literally disappear behind what appears to be a curve, when it really is simply a flat surface that we are looking at from a low perspective. So let's just play this clip backwards and imagine that the lights on the aircraft are our setting sun maintaining a consistent height above the surface, and we can see that it is perfectly acceptable on the flat Earth for the sun to disappear beyond the horizon, and it doesn't have to get significantly smaller before it does so. Thank you very much.